All right, happy, I don't know what day of the week. Is it Wednesday? Is it Wednesday? I don't know about you guys, but proposal season has been a little ridiculous, to say the least. So welcome. Thank you for taking a 30-minute break to join me today. Today we're talking about the proof is in the process, steps to a successful proposal. You'll hear success stories, lessons learned, even myself have learned, even though I'm training you all about this. So today, what you'll learn, or kind of my goal for you, is, and I feel like it's kind of going back for me to the basics. So uncovering what 6 steps are to help you and get everyone on your team on the same page to win more work, how to, as a result, learn what I have learned over the past 20 or so years doing proposals. As a consultant, we've been successful helping firms do this. And I'll tell you some of my own lessons learned where we haven't been successful and why that is, I think, the case as well. Okay, so a little bit about those who don't know me. My name is Angie Wolf. I am the owner and proposal manager and trainer at Ideas at Dawn, which I started 4 years ago after consulting in the AEC industry with large Fortune 500 firms like Hewitt, HDR, Kramer, MWH, ranging in a variety of delivery methods from your best value, call it low bids, so LPTAs to best values with the government to P3s and so on and so forth. So what my firm does is we bring a competitive advantage to our clients to help them win more work without adding on more payroll. And these are the steps in most cases that we try to follow. So this is the framework for today. I'll keep it on the slide. And what I'm going to talk about today is the case studies in firms where we've been successful doing this and why I think we were successful. And then also which steps we followed, which elements were key to that. And then also other firms that we've been helping that don't have a process and what happens in that case. And at the end, I'll follow it up with kind of what next steps could be if you're interested in learning more. We've had, this leads to a one-day training that I've had quite a few folks take, varying experience. So for people who were new to AEC, new to the industry, some that were just not new to the industry, but new to proposals, and others who have been doing it for 15 years, but haven't had to take a chance to take a breath to learn from someone else and look at what others are doing and how processes could be improved. So that's the kind of genesis today, and what we'll be talking about. If you have questions, we are a small enough group. You can come off mute. You can also put your information in the chat. So let me move that around so I can see you. So yeah, do that. Raise your hand, whatever you need to do to get my attention. And I'll try and answer it for you, okay? Any questions before we get started? Okay. So what the case study that I'll start with, which you can also find some of these on my website, some of them are some newer clients, but in general, the clients that, oh, there's my water. The clients that have been most successful are ones that do follow the process. So the 6 steps are flexible, but there's some components and pieces and part that are key to the process. So step 1 is strategy. This is where, or capture management, business development, proposal people, or I have gotten involved in strategy. And right, this is I like to say strategy is before a proposal comes out. So this is all that upfront work, sometimes that we don't get a chance to do. Sometimes, those proposals land on our plate. But of the wins that I have been a part of, specifically the one for Kramer and Floyd Hill, strategy was very important. I spent over a year with that team ahead of that pursuit coming out, although it did get delayed. So it was probably longer than the original, what we had planned, which was around 3 months, of just me being engaged with them. Now, this did not take into account them getting to know the clients, and really understanding the project, the players, and all of those key things. Strategy was and continues as I look at other pursuits that I'm working on or have worked on. One of those indicators of our ability to win and whether we will win or not. If I feel like that the team just got together, or we decided 2 weeks after that the proposal came out that they want to bid it. And these are all real examples that I recently have encountered just within my own firm with our clients. That ability to win is immediately going to go down. It doesn't matter how much a proposal team can make the rest of steps 4 or 2, 3, 4, and 5 look. If we don't have a strategy in that winning solution, we are starting behind the game. And I think a lot of you know that, but that is important to understand and key. One of my clients, HNTB, who has been excellent at strategy, they will start pursuing projects years in advance. So our engineering firms tend to be a lot better at that than construction, for sure. And because it is about relationships, and that strategy piece is very important. And so strategy startup, that's when you have your pursuits a go. It might be out, it might not. We try to get ahead of the game, work on projects, resumes, all of the things that tend to take a little bit of more time gathering data. But startup is when I say you have that green light and it's time to go. So this is when you're starting to assign assignments, coming up with plans for that submittal. Then this also includes your kickoff. That is not just a meeting to look at the RFP, like a true formal kickoff with a schedule, a responsibility matrix, assignments, not just reviewing it. I've seen recently with a couple clients where this isn't even part of their solution and part of their process. So when it comes to that startup phase, it's that time where it might be the only time, minus a review, where you are getting together with the team. And which is why it's so important to use that time and use that momentum also. So this is the opportunity people are excited, or can be, excited for the new potential work. So really using that to leverage that momentum to get everyone going. So, setting your dates. This is one thing that with most of my clients, we are really good at. If I have a few clients who don't have processes at all. It was, here you go, just do this proposal. And internally we had our, call it kickoff meeting, but that's where even my firm, we failed in not following this process because we just dove right in and didn't do that reset or a set at all of getting everyone on the same page, roles, responsibilities, assignments, all of those things. So although it can be super exciting to get started, don't forget that we need to get everybody on the same page, even if it is just you and one other person. I know a lot of times it can feel silly to do some kickoff meetings, depending on if it's the same proposal, same team, like, but just doing a reset and a focus on that, I think is critical. And then step three is the management piece. So this is where a proposal manager to me shines, in what tools and processes that we use to keep everyone on schedule. So these are between all of my clients. So whether that's Kramer, HNTB, Kiewit, or others, the key fundamentals and processes and tools that we use throughout this include, I call them play the day meetings or daily play the day. This is an opportunity to just get together as a team. And this is, now that we are working on the pursuit, a very concentrated team. So for me, it is those who are producing content and the graphics. It's not management, reviewers, other people. So getting our team together to understand as the manager or proposal manager what we need. And even, so this is usually, it's coming from the technology side of the technology industry. So another term for it is like a stand-up meeting. And the idea is that it's a short enough meeting that you can stand up for the entire meeting. So I've used these via phone calls, virtual, in person, but it is just going through, okay, here's all the sections. What's the status? What's your progress since the last time we met? What's outstanding? What's, where are we at in relation to our next deadline? And then we also go over, is there any news from the client, upcoming meetings that people need to attend? So it's that, because we all tend to be not working on just one pursuit, it's that opportunity to center us and make sure that we spend at least a little time focusing on the pursuits and really understanding where everyone's at, and also getting their time and focus. It creates those kind of interim milestones and deadlines for people to keep progressing content versus waiting till a day before it's due or the day it's due to produce content. So these for me have been fundamental. I do them with all of them. The duration changes. A recent example, working with HNTB on a pursuit and on a couple of them, and they didn't use this concept. So I brought this to them as a way to I called it a check-in. I try not to get caught up in the terminology, but just a way to get together and review progress. So whether it's even called a progress check-in, whatever you want to do, but making sure that those are scheduled and people attend. Yes, we can have lots of meetings, right? There's no shortage of meetings on people's calendars, but I tell people why it's important. And the important is that ability to check in on progress so we can progress towards our reviews and documents. So that's the main tool in the management piece, minus, managing the schedule, communicating the schedule, getting those events and calendars out. Those are the tools I've used. Melanie, not every day. It depends on the length of pursuit. If it's a 2-week pursuit or 3 weeks, we potentially will do it every day. But if it's a 4 to 6 weeks, we'll usually do it 3 times a week. So every other day or twice a day, or not twice a day, twice a week. Although I have modified it in that during like the last week, we'll meet, depending on the production team and that, sometimes every day, just depends on what that looks like. So it's a little bit of a blend. And that's one thing that I've become a lot more flexible in my experience in the process, that, picking and choosing what works and what doesn't work for the team, and not being so black and white with the process. Yeah, so depending on the length, I have done them every day, but it just depends on how much time you have and how critical certain things are. Okay, so that's the management piece. The one thing where I continue to struggle is in finding a right tool is managing the actual process, content, deadlines, like I would call like a project management tool. Internally, we've been using Teams and Microsoft Planner just to manage tasks, assignments. So I'd love to hear what others are using to manage that. I try to get it out of the responsibility matrix and something that I can use, and more of a checklist. But if you all have any ideas on, like, call it proposal management, a tool outside of my Excel spreadsheet for the responsibility matrix and schedule, I'd love to hear it. You can go ahead and put that in the chat. So we'll keep going. Then the next step is developing our content. Yes, Teams. One interesting thing before I move off of that. With Kramer, I don't. With Kiewit, I don't. With HMTB, I try to use Teams and making assignments, and taking your schedule and building that out in Teams, and assigning people, putting deadlines and tracking it that way. So I don't have to send reminders, trying to use automation and other tools to do that. But I got shut down. The team did not want more emails from a automated tool, so they're like, do not assign me to anything. So they managed it individually, but and I feel like that's been the most common. I do it internally with my team. We make assignments that way. I'll have to try ClickUp. I haven't seen that one. I've used Trello, but yeah. And then I was actually talking to a friend yesterday, and we're going to try and use Microsoft's automation tools to see if I can automate a responsibility matrix into Microsoft Planner, which would do, I think, all of those things from ClickUp and Trello. But I've just been trying to do it internally within the proposal team and not externally, which can be a little bit of a challenge. I do use Outlook to schedule deadlines, but I was taking it to the next level with assignments and sections and who needs to do what. And that's where they got annoyed with the email notifications when they got assigned assignments. So, okay, so content. This is, as I think some of you may or may not know, is continuing to evolve on how we develop content. This is where, from a big picture, my training is evolving. Just with, I'm taking a class with talking about AI. So it talks about all of these pieces in the process, but the part that I'm currently using it the most is in the content development piece. And getting over a blank page, a introduction, all of those things, and making content more customized. This is obviously where, minus the review process period, which has a lot of everything else, but where, as you may or may not know, it's like where the majority of the hours are. So this is, text on a page to graphics. And if you're doing it all, you know how long some of it takes. So trying to leverage what we can do to make that process more smoother. Kramer is my shining star here from a client perspective when it comes to content, because they are not afraid to get their hands dirty or, being involved in actually developing the content. Worked with another client recently who thought that the proposal team could develop all of her content. And that's, as we know, that's not the case. And so getting those to understand, kind of a little bit of that expectation, like I'm not going to give them a blank page, but there's just some things that if we don't know specifics about a client and a, engineering or construction, like, that technical approach, it's really hard to create it. Like we can fake it. It might not be accurate, and it probably isn't going to be, very detailed. So I'm not afraid to do some writing in getting out of a blank page, which AI tools have for sure taken that for me to another level. So I'm not even having to leverage boilerplate. It's great if it's there, but just being able to get something sooner, faster on a page that is customized to that pursuit has been pretty key. And from even saving hours of time has been pretty important. So yeah, content takes forever. Yeah, between the review process and content, as we know, it's the most exhausting phases. Then we get to the review phase, and I'm not sure if all of you saw what Val put in the chat, but for reviews, I do use Adobe Share or Adobe Reviewer, whatever you want to call it. The AI tools I'm using are, I use ChatGPT, I use Bard, I use Quillbot for summarizing text. So you can put in paragraphs, and I used it to help create my executive summary. I'm like, here's all this text, summarize it. So yeah, those are the three that I have been using when it comes to AI tools. Bard is has been the most useful, although it needs the most QC when it comes to content on like projects. So one super cool thing I did on a recent proposal for a job in Canada was I gave it like, here's the scope of the project. So I made sure it understand the project and what we were pursuing. And then I'm like, here's this new project, provide the similarities between these two projects. Yep, I'll list them here in a minute. So it gave me what the similarities were, and then that's what, some of them don't make sense. Sometimes you have to ask it multiple times, but I was able to generate similarities. And it's also interesting understanding a point of view of what we think from a construction or engineering point of view as similarities versus a tool. So yeah, super interesting. But that's one thing that I've used it for, in addition to a lot of the proposals I'm working on lately have lots of very detailed content on projects. So stuff that even the client's like, I don't know, let me go look. So using tools like Bard has been the most helpful. ChatGPT only goes back a few years, so not as much in there, but Bard is Google-based, so a lot more access to information there. Yes, it's pretty awesome. So the review tools, why I use Adobe, it's because it's included with the software that I've purchased. So that's the one I use. My clients, Kiewit uses another tool called Please Review. So those are kind of the two tools we use. I don't usually share a PDF, just separately. So sharing a PDF via the online review share, so everyone can see the comments. And one thing to note with reviews is being flexible with which ones you do. I haven't tried Bluebeam. I know most of our engineering and everyone that we work with tends to have it outside of the proposal team. But so for example, this past I had a proposal where we had, 2 weeks to do it, 2.5, 3 weeks. And we ended up just doing a pink team, a red team, and then a final flip. So, being flexible with what reviews you do, but I try to be, with HNTB, we pull in a blue team. A blue team is before the proposal comes out. We do that check. So that's where this whole startup piece, they started up much earlier than a lot of firms that I work with, but that's pretty common. HDR was the same way, so more common, at least in my experience, to the engineering industry. But incorporating those different elements of review. I know HNTB has a different color review for price. I tend to not be involved with a price review with my clients. So, but pink, red, gold, if we need to pull in other ones, but making sure we do them. And that's where with a couple clients that don't have a proposal process that I've recently worked with, that's what we don't even do is a review. And even though we get them content, it's not part of their process. So really making them understand that we need that time. And I have to say, although with one client who hadn't done proposals before, we did implement a couple of reviews with them. We weren't successful with another client. But, really communicating that value, and that in the end, it needs to be more than you reviewing that proposal before it gets submitted. Another colleague of mine recently did a proposal, and he was the only one who reviewed it. And he does not work for a small firm. They are very experienced at proposals. So is he. And yet, people just don't value it sometimes. So making sure that you do communicate that it should be more than you reviewing it, and explaining the value there. And then close out. As it says, packaging everything, making sure it's all there. So then when you have to go back to it, all the content, the pictures, the links, everything's there. So those are, and we know or tend to know that the closeout is the most forgotten. It is important. I try to do it right away when I finish a proposal, just so it's all there and all done and I don't have to think about it. So even though it's exciting to move on to the next one or take a breather and not do anything, scheduling that time for closeout is important. And so what the next thing in the last minute, so all of these elements, which some of you, I know Victoria and others, Diana might know, I've talked about this before. So it's a winning system that I've used. It is specific to AEC, doesn't mean that you couldn't take elements from a proposal or elements from it, but I have crafted it unique to engineering and construction. So it's a winning system. It's taking all of these 6 steps and really figuring out how to implement them for a proposal. So it's the 6 steps to develop proposals confidently while working with engineers and estimators. That is some of the challenge of working with our subject matter experts and how to get content. I'll also put the link to it in the chat, and then I'll maybe I won't. I'll grab it here in a second. Or you can scan the QR code. One thing to note, so this training is normally, so the date first is May 10th. It's an all-day training, morning till, so actually 6-7 hours is what we have it scheduled for with a lunch break. But we dive into each of those 6 steps and go more into the tools, the processes. This time I'm even going to dive into AI and how I use it at each of those steps to develop certain content. So it continues to evolve and change. But a couple things to note. So you get the training, access to the training. So we record it. So you can always go back and rewatch it. Or if you need a refresher, also includes a workbook. The first 5 people who purchase seats, we are doing a half off, so $498. So if you scan that QR code, and I'll send the link to you, that's the price that it'll show. So, and you'll learn everything that I've learned and continue to do to help people like Kramer win their largest project ever here in the company, which was roughly $500 million CMGC, to Ames win their job up in Fort Collins, to Kramer, or not Kramer, Kiewit getting shortlisted on multiple pursuits. And then the most recent one was with HNTB on one of their strategic pursuits in Northern California. In all of those things. Thank you, Jess. So yes, these are tools, these are processes that are successful. It's not stuff that is not proven. And it continues to evolve as I continue to learn new things. And I think that is the last slide. So it is. Any questions? I will go back to the chat. I will put in the tools that I use. I'll give you the websites. Bard, as an example, and I'll also give you guys the link. For those that have to hop off, thank you for coming. Reach out via LinkedIn or email if you have any questions about anything. I'm pretty much an open book. So if you have questions about work, life, whatever, I tend to be a person who likes to help. So don't shy away if you are needing something. Okay. Here's the link. This training I am doing a little bit different. Usually I tend to go over everything that we could do. I go over roles, responsibilities of what it looks like on the construction side of things or engineering, which is handy for if you're doing a design build pursuit or working with an engineer or a construction firm and haven't done it before, kind of what that looks like and what you can ask and what meetings maybe you should invite yourself to. So we'll still go over those things, but the big difference is with this one. So if you've heard me talk about this training in the past, we're going to dive a lot deeper into developing content, how to use AI tools and other tools, even if it's just my responsibility matrix and how I use it in a schedule, all of those things. So the training is May 10th. If you go to that link, you can see more information there. Otherwise, questions that you have for me? Bard, you do have to request access, or at least I had to. Not sure if it's still open. It was fairly quick, but it was set up for beta. Thank you, Esty. And then I'll send you, and it's what's super interesting, which I haven't dove into, is making images using AI or graphics yet. There are quite a few out there. I haven't found any that might be appropriate for proposals yet. That's one thing we're still working through and trying to figure out what that looks like. And then the other one I'll send you is Quillbot. Those are the three I use the most. They are always open on my browser. All three are. So using them for different tools, for sure. Questions on the 6 steps? Anything else you want to talk about?
Hi, Angie, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hi, Val.
Hi. Are we able to do a customized training with you? I have 15 years of proposal experience and the processes, but maybe I want to specialize a shorter training with you on these new AI programs. I've never used anything like that, and I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, send me an email or a message on LinkedIn, Val, and we can look to see what that looks like. If there's others interested, we might do a group training. But yeah, send me a link or a message and let me know kind of what you're looking at and what you want, and we can come up with a solution for you.
Perfect. Thank you, Angie.
Of course. Anybody else have other questions? Comments or questions about the training? I understand that trying to fit in a one-day training is can be a little crazy in our world and trying to balance all of that. So you do get the recording. I've had people come and go that depending on their schedule, what works, they just go back and watch it and listen to it after the fact. So I get that. But I feel like it's a little bit easier to try and schedule one day versus trying to break it out over multiple weeks and months. So getting it on your calendar, booking it out now, so you can get some time in there. We do take a break. So, being able to hand any fire drills. Thank you, Melody. But yeah, that's why I do it in a one day versus trying to break it out, because sometimes that can be even harder. And then if you want some more information about either the clients I've worked with and kind of what we've been able to do for them, my website has some case studies, which I dove a little bit into today. Otherwise, you can see that there as well in what we've been able to do for them. Okay, before I wrap it up, any last questions anybody wants to ask? Thank you for attending. Hi, Rita. Anybody else? Okay. Oh, hi, Cassie. Okay. All right. So we'll follow up. Thank you all for attending. Hopefully you learned something in a quick, short 30 minutes. And then the links in the chat will follow up via email and then also messages on LinkedIn with that link, and answer any questions you might have if you're interested in the training. And then Val, be sure to send me a note so we can see what works for you for your training.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So I kind of joined a few minutes late, but you mentioned using Teams and Planner for managing proposals and whatnot. And then you mentioned something about MS automation that I kind of missed, but I'm interested in that because I do struggle with, especially on larger teams, making sure, people are on time with their pieces, and then everybody's kind of waiting for somebody else to do their piece before we put together, a staff plan and that type of thing. Can you talk more about those Microsoft automation tools?
Yeah. So the one I've been trying to use, I don't know if you heard this, Karen, but I used it with one team and they didn't like it. But using Teams to create the assignments. So I take essentially the responsibility matrix and I build it out by assignments for that next review. So putting in, okay, here's what I need from you. I add notes. I put who I assign it to, and then also a due date. And then you can use that. Also, there's a functionality where it has % complete. So you could use it like a true schedule, or even using it with your check-in calls for people to populate that information. Now, I used it once with an external team with HNTB, and they got annoyed when they started getting emails, Karen. So maybe give them the heads up. But otherwise, I use it with my team internally when we're doing pursuits. So creating assignments when things are due, what needs to be done, notes about the comments. So taking it, and then how I set it up is I have like the core tasks. So like I break it out by section. And then I break it out also by resumes, who needs to be in their project sheets if they're separate, graphics tabs, the cover, mailing label. I like put all those notes in there. So it's taking a lot of the things that are in the responsibility matrix and putting it in there. So then I don't have to send it in emails, people forget it and lose it. And then the part what drove me to use it more, Karen, was that it reminds people. So I don't have to remind them. It says your task is due, or it's due tomorrow. And using Microsoft's just automations there is why I use it. So I don't have to remind people. And then it's that one place. That's not my notebook. And, not on a piece of paper that we can try and use. One of the tools, so I was trying to, I think it's called, I was just talking with a friend about this yesterday. I think it's called Microsoft Automate. Let me look. Oh no, Power Automate. So it's a Microsoft tool. So what I attribute it to, have you heard of Zapier, Karen?
No.
I don't think Trello or ClickUp or any of the other tools use it, but it's meant to be an automation tool that if something happens, so what I use it for right now is that what it does is it sends me an email every day of everything that is on my calendar for that day. So I get an email reminder of here's what your calendar, and that's set up through an automation within Power Automate. What I want to figure out, I was talking to a friend about this yesterday, and her husband does this, is taking the responsibility matrix, and I want to be able to upload it, and then based off of each of those tasks, have Power Automate create tasks in Planner, and then with the due date and everything, and be able to truly like automate that process. Because right now it's manual for me, have to go back into Planner and add, the sections, the assignments, the content. So essentially taking because what the goal is that I won't have to have a separate responsibility matrix in Excel, that we potentially could just use Planner because it is a schedule, and use that as our responsibility matrix.
Right. Yeah, I was going to ask, is it your, are you uploading your Excel spreadsheet? And then
I'm not. Yeah.
Oh, you're not. Okay. I was thinking of
but
your responsibility matrix being on a Excel, and then you uploaded that.
Yep. That's what I want to be able to do through Automate is have it essentially create a task by row. So then we can track it, or some sort of tool to add some more automation there with our processes. And being able to add the reminders and the schedule. And the other thing that I want is that there's certain things that are I shouldn't say the same, but creating a templates in Microsoft Planner, which I haven't been able to find either. Like, here's all of my tasks every time, and being able to copy paste it. I haven't found that either, or ability to create a template in Planner to reuse it. Because we've been working on a lot of Colorado Department of Transportation, and their proposals are all the same. So it's section A, B, C, D, E. And I'm like, it'd be nice if I wouldn't have to retype it every time. Like, here's my CDOT template, being able to create templates by clients. And then it's just a matter of, updating the content and adding the people and the due date, but otherwise, the majority of the pieces are already there. I'm like, the tabs are the same minus what photo is on them, and then the cover, it's just the project name. So things like that, I'm still. I'm actually going to meet with them here in May to figure out how to use Power Automate to create some efficiencies with the proposal process.
Gotcha. And so for the what you add to Planner, sometimes, we have teams with 10, 20 resumes in them. Would you suggest, and, we're always trying to get these people to update their resumes, would it be worthwhile to add Joe Smith to the planner and tell him to update his resume, and Susie Q, and like, all those 10, 20 people. And, our resumes are stored in Word, so
yeah.
they can update them, but
I would. It's worth a shot. Some people like it, some don't. But it's another way to integrate it. Microsoft is currently in their beta of their AI tool. So I'm imagining that we'll start seeing more things connect from that perspective, Karen, and people being able to update and potentially even make some of those things easier, like with developing content and pulling in project descriptions or responsibilities or, those sort of things. But I would use as many of the tools in the processes and automations to send those reminders. So it doesn't have to live in your email, which is kind of the nice thing.
yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. Good info.
Of course. Yeah, you're welcome. Anybody else have questions? Which is one reason why this training is different every time, along with most of my trainings, is, I'm continuing to learn different tools and processes, which is why it's ever evolving. And I try to be more efficient and not just use the same old thing. So that's why this training coming up will be different. It's because I'm going to start pulling in AI, because I've been diving into it the past month, and seeing what we can do there to be more efficient, and how to really leverage things so we can get some more time back, and don't have to, we can have weekends and evenings and a little bit of a life. With summer coming, it's always nice to have a good balance, and not spending all of our time inside. Rita, any questions? Anybody else? Okay. No one has any questions. We'll call it a day. I'll send you the link, so you will have that as well if you need a refresher, or on which tools I talked about and kind of the steps and processes. But otherwise, we'll call it a day. Sound good? Thank you, Val. All right. See you all. Talk to you later. Hopefully I'll see you on the 10th.